In the beginning, the baby was born. God chose Mary to be the mother of God. Listen carefully. Listen to the words. God chose Mary to be the mother of God. And the Word was born, a wordless child. When the baby looked up into the face of the Mother Mary, he already saw the cross. And when he looked up into the face of the Father Joseph, he saw the cross there too. The Mother Mary and the Father Joseph held the baby close. They kept the baby warm. They gave the baby everything the baby needed to grow. And it began to grow. The baby grew and became a boy. When he was about 12 years old, he went with his mother Mary and Father Joseph and many others from their village of Nazareth. And they went to the great city of Jerusalem. They went to keep one of the high holy days. When the celebration was over, the people from Nazareth went out through the great high gate and started on their way home. Suddenly, Mary and Joseph discovered that Jesus was not there. They thought he'd been playing with the other children from their village as they walked home together. Mary and Joseph hurried back into the great city of Jerusalem to find him. Mary and Joseph looked in the dark and narrow streets. They looked in the marketplace where they'd bought their lunch. They looked where they'd had spent the night. They looked everywhere. Finally, they even looked in the temple, and there he was. He was talking with the rabbis and the priests. And when he spoke, they listened because he knew so much. And when they spoke, he listened because he wanted to learn more. Mary and Joseph then asked Jesus the question that children can never answer. Why did you do that? And Jesus said something very strange. He said, "Didn't you know I'd be in my Father's house?" Mary and Joseph didn't understand. Their house was in Nazareth, where Joseph's carpenter's shop was. They didn't understand, but they never forgot. Jesus grew up and became a man. And when he was about 30 years old, he went to the River Jordan, where his cousin John was baptizing people. Do you see John? You can just see the back of his head. John was a wild man. Jesus walked into the river until he was face to face with John. And he said, "Baptize me." John looked at Jesus as if for the first time. Now he saw who Jesus really was. "How can I baptize you?" he said. "You are the Messiah, the one we've been waiting for. You must baptize me." "No, it is written that you will come before me and prepare the way. Baptize me." Jesus went down into the darkness and chaos of the water. And when John lifted him back into the light, there were people there who said they saw a dove come down from heaven and come close to him. There were also people there that day who heard a voice. The voice said, "This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased." After Jesus was baptized, he went on across the River Jordan and into the desert. He went into the desert to discover more about who he was and what his work was and what it was going to be. He was there for 40 days and 40 nights. There was very little to eat or to drink. One day he heard a voice. It said, "Why don't you turn one of these stones over and make it into bread so that you have something to eat?" Jesus said, "No. To be a real human being, you need more than just bread to eat." Suddenly, it was as if Jesus was on top of the great temple in Jerusalem. And the voice came back. "If you are really the Son of God, why don't you jump and see if God sends the angels to catch you before you hit the stones below?" Jesus said, "No, we don't need to test God." And then it was as if Jesus could see all the kingdoms of the world. The voice came back again. "If you will follow me, I will make you king over all of these kingdoms." Jesus said, "No, I am to be a king, but not that kind of king." Then the voice went away. Jesus came back across the Jordan River and began to do his work. But what was his work? His work was to come close to people, especially the people no one else wanted to come close to. See, he came close to this blind man. He's so close that he has touched the blind man's eyes. When Jesus came close to people, they changed. They could see things that they could not see before. They could do things that they could never do before. Jesus told lots of stories. Finally, he knew that he had to become one of these stories, a parable. So he turned towards Jerusalem for the last time. Jesus went to Jerusalem for the last time. It was the time of the Passover, and the city was full of people from many different lands. They thought Jesus was coming to be a king, but they weren't really paying attention. He wasn't riding on a great white horse when he came into the city, and he wasn't being carried by soldiers. He was riding on a donkey, and it wasn't even his. He'd borrowed it. Still, that Sunday when Jesus came into Jerusalem, people waved palm branches, which were a sign of kings. On Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, Jesus went into the temple to teach. And every night he went back to the Mount of Olives with the 12. The people watched him and whispered that the Mount of Olives was where the angels were supposed to come down to make an army to drive away the Roman soldiers. One day when Jesus was teaching in the temple, he said, "Do you see that old woman over there? She's going to put something into the money box. Listen. Did you hear anything?" No. She put the smallest coin there is in the box. That was all the money she had. "Now," he said, "here comes a rich man. He has so much money to put into the money box that he has to have help to carry it." His money makes a huge clanging and ringing as they pour it into the box. Now I wonder which one really gave the most. Son, said the old woman. The temple guards on the Thursday said, "We will take him." That evening, Jesus and the 12 hurried through the dark streets to a house. They climbed up the stairs to an upper room and they shared their last supper together. After they had everything they wanted to eat, Jesus took some bread and gave thanks to God for it. Then he broke it and said something like, "Whenever you break the bread like this and share it, I will be there." He also took a cup of wine and again gave thanks to God for it and said, "Whenever you share a cup of wine like this, I will be there." What was he talking about? He was always saying things like this. How could they know? Still, they did not forget, and later they would understand. Suddenly, Judas got up and left, and the rest sang a hymn and then went to the Garden of Gethsemane on the Mount of Olives. Jesus wanted to pray, and when he'd finished, he joined the 12. But Judas came out of the dark and greeted him. This was a signal for the temple guards to take him. They too came out of the shadows and took Jesus away with them into the night. The 12 disappeared into the darkness as well. That night was a confusing one. The next day, Jesus was taken outside the walls and was crucified. That afternoon, Jesus died. The sky grew dark. Jesus was taken down from the cross and buried in a cave. And a great stone was rolled into the opening of the cave to close it like a door. Saturday was so quiet you could almost hear the earth breathing. On Sunday, it was the women who had the courage to go to the tomb just to be close. Just to be close to God, to Jesus. They wanted to remember, even if it was sad. When they came to the tomb, they found that the stone had been rolled back and that the tomb was empty. Jesus had died on the cross, but somehow he was still with them, especially in the bread and wine. When you look at this side, you know that the other side is there. And when you look at this side, you know this side is there. You can't separate them. You can't pull them apart. You've got the crucifixion and the resurrection. This is the mystery of Easter, and that makes all the difference. And so the colours change. But wait a minute, there's something wrong. There's the beginning and the middle and the end. But it's only the end if we've got that side of the story. But there's also this side of the story. The ending is also the beginning. So we can't leave the story in a straight line. Let's see what we can do. Now, the story continues. There's no beginning and no end. The beginning is the start of the end, and the end is the start of the beginning. Now, I wonder which part of the story you liked best. I wonder which part of the story you think is the most important. I wonder where you are in the story, or which part is about you. I wonder if there's any part of the story we can leave out, but still have all the story we need.